Hi guys, it's Amy from A Mum Full of Dreams here. Welcome to my series Working Parents on Lockdown. It is a series of videos where I've been chatting with mums and dads about how we're coping with life in lockdown, working with the kids at home and still trying to keep our careers on track. Joining us today is Joanne. Hi Joanne.
Hi everyone.
Would you like to tell everybody a bit about what you do?
Yeah, thanks Amy. I'm a freelance administrator and I've also recently become an author. I'm taking part in a compilation book which is going to be published at the end of May, and that's actually come about as a result of coronavirus. So I've seen the ups and downs of coronavirus, the end of a freelance contract, and a new opportunity present itself. I'm self-employed predominantly, although I do have a small part-time job. And I have two young children who are 8 and nearly 6, and they've been home and kind of isolating since middle of March. That we actually pulled them out of school a few days early. And my husband works full time. He's a solicitor and he's involved in wills, so he's still been having to work full time and been very busy. So he's working full time, and I'm trying to fit as many hours in as possible around keeping the kids entertained and doing a little bit of homeschooling. So
there's a bit of homeschooling in there for you as well.
A little bit, yes. School have been very good. They've been sending resources kind of throughout, and in the last week or so they've made it a bit more personal to each year group. We're getting a grid of suggested activities. And they're saying kind of, do as many as you can, as you're able to. They're very appreciative that everyone's got different circumstances, and that the main priority is kind of the well-being of the children and kind of mental health of parents as they're going through things as well. So teachers are available to kind of message through an app that they use already. So we have messages going backwards and forwards, and photographs, of the odd time we manage to get them to do some work. They do that. So yeah, it's a little bit of a battle. They're both very good at school and like and enjoy learning. They're quite resistant to mummy and daddy being the teachers.
They're trying lots of tricks to get out of doing their work.
Yes, yeah. So they're having quite a lot of screen time, which I think has positive and negatives. It's enabling us to keep working, which we need to do kind of from a financial point of view. And it gives them a break. They need a kind of release and escapism. I think at the moment they're missing not being able to play with their friends, although they are fortunate that, we're fortunate they get on very well, and they can entertain each other, although there are disagreements and battles and struggles that go on with that. But yeah, generally they're managing okay, and we're getting bits of schoolwork done in between playing, and when the weather's been good, we've done quite a lot of work in the garden. But I think we are starting to feel, we're all feeling like, we need other contact. And, my son said the other day, I need a break from my family. 10 minutes is enough. But play outside and is that. But yeah, I think we're all a bit in that more heightened emotions all round. The kind of, we get very happy and joyous about things, and equally it can spiral quickly, especially when people are hungry. It quickly deteriorate.
Absolutely. It sounds like you've settled into a really nice routine as a family then. How are you fitting your work into that?
Generally I'm working kind of from early morning, kind of around now when we do, so kind of get them up, get ready, and work for a few hours in the morning, then have a break for lunch, spend a bit of time with them, do a bit of schoolwork, do a bit of playing. It depends a bit what the weather's like, go in the garden. We've had the glorious weather, haven't we, for the last, tailed off this week, but glorious weather, so we've been kind of getting out in the garden for an hour in the middle of the day, and then just trying to rotate a bit. My husband will try and encourage them to do a bit of work, and if he's got a gap between calls, he'll kind of sit with them for half an hour or so and do that, and then generally kind of tea time-ish, 5 o'clock-ish, kind of cook, eat together, and then try and get them out for some daily exercise, which they're quite resistant to going on walks, or we've been going and kind of digging in the garden and and doing a bit of landscaping. So that's been a bit of physical activity for us and them. So yeah, that's the routine. And then at weekends, we're trying to not work as much or anywhere near as much, and take a break so that we have some time more than to spend as a family.
Sounds like you and John have got a really good balance as well, where you're both taking a bit of the responsibility. And we were just saying before we came on, before we started recording, that I've got the same in my house, and I feel very lucky. But I have spoken to a lot of women, not just on these videos, but just in general, mums who are taking the slack a lot in this at this time. I suppose the worry is that actually, for those of us who can't, those people who can't get their work done, there's going to be a gap to catch up on when they go back to work. Do you reckon there will be a bit of an impact on sort of women in the workplace when we go back to normal?
Definitely, certainly. I think it is impacting me. I mean, I'm not, a lot of the work that I'm doing has been around writing, and then I'm working on a website. A lot of my work is development work, or networking and online Zoom. I've had loads of good conversations with people on Zoom, and that's more flexible. And so I'm fitting that around. His work is more urgent, particularly in the first few weeks. I think it has kind of quietened down a little bit, but they were dealing with a number of kind of urgent cases, so that had to take priority, and that's our major kind of household income, so that has had to kind of take priority. So I worked kind of part-time hours anyway, so that's probably just continued a bit. I'm aware of other friends whose partners, I think it's just depended a little bit in terms of what the work situation has been for a couple, in terms of what the priority is and what that is. But yeah, I think it could kind of negatively impact part-time working mums particularly, I think, because they will tend to be the lower earner because they're working part-time, and then when the household kind of finances come under pressure, there is that kind of natural sway to protect the larger income. So I think we do kind of have to guard against it, I suppose, and make sure that we're not kind of taking too much of a step back. It's something that I've had to kind of consciously do as well, and push back and say, it is a joint effort to kind of do the homeschooling.
Are you still working in your part-time job at the moment?
I am, yes. That's only a few hours every week or fortnight. It's a small landscaping company, and it's the director's furloughed himself to protect his partner's NHS worker, and to protect his kind of elderly parents who live next door. So he's kind of focusing on being support for them. But I've remained working, so I'm still dealing with the kind of financial paperwork, and because we live, it's like 2-minute walk. We've been able to kind of swap like equipment and paperwork, kind of just by kind of leaving it, leaving it in the porch kind of thing. So we've been able to do that with social distancing and keep going, and I'm able to respond to inquiries and respond to the kind of accountants and just keep that going. So that's a little bit of income. But I was working for an events company, so that ended early March, and that was about 25 hours a week or so I'd been doing. So that's obviously quite a big blow in terms of income. And there was another contract that was due to start, which was going to be kind of working virtually, supporting the business, and that's kind of had to go on temporary hold because they've had to remodel their business. So I think they're contracts that probably will come back online once things return to some kind of normality. But it is hard at the moment. There's not going to be much work out there, but I do think possibly people will turn more to freelancers and people that can work flexibly, because people will have had to unfortunately make redundancies and reevaluate, or might need support on an area that their existing staff don't have expertise on. So I think it's just play it by ear, and because I've had the book and the launch for that's given me focus during this period, which has been really helpful. I think to kind of block out all the external kind of noise and worry. I've been able to focus on that and making new connections through that, and then kind of we're going into kind of promoting that over the next month. So that's been, I think, just a fortunate twist of fate, because if I hadn't lost the freelance contract, I probably never would have gone for the book opportunity. And then that's kind of leading me on to other things I want to do in terms of, because my story's around my mental health journey. So that's then kind of leading me on to the next stage that I wanted to move on to anyway. So it's been a good time to reflect and be able to think about where I want to go next.
For me, it's been a case of redirecting where I was going with my career back to where I wanted it to be in the first place. And it sounds like you are able to achieve a long-term goal as well, which is really exciting. Do you think that might be happening elsewhere as well? I think we're a really great example of it.
I think so. I think the other thing that's been really useful is a lot of things have moved online. And also other people that might have been busy in their own things, in their own work, have also got that headspace. So it's far easier to kind of arrange one-to-ones over Zoom. And there's a weekly networking call that I've done every Wednesday. And that's been good with kind of 30, 40 other people, and there's regulars and then new people coming and others dropping out. That's been really useful, and that's the kind of thing that has made it easier for me as a working mum. Things being online is actually a lot easier to manage than in person. I do love in-person events as well, and I wouldn't want to do without those completely, but I think it's given the space for more opportunity that's going to. Even I was reading somewhere someone saying they'd had their networking group, and that's up here in West Yorkshire, and someone had joined from Devon or somewhere like that, and it's things that it's bringing connections that never would have come otherwise. So I think there are opportunities out.
If you could give one piece of advice to mums of kids your age who are dealing with homeschooling, their own work, and of course then we've got the housework and all of that on top of it, haven't we? What advice would you give to parents for sort of like getting through this time?
I think just be kind to yourself and be kind to your children, and try and not judge yourself against other people's expectations or your own perceived expectations of what you should be achieving. For me, it's been taking every day at a time. We have good days, bad days, good hours, bad hours. And I think it's just a bit accepting that you're going to be on a bit of an emotional roller coaster at the moment. And even though over the weeks we've kind of adapted and moving through different stages, that we're still going to have ups and downs. The kids are still going to drive us mad. They're going to some days be quite happy to do some work, some days not be happy to do any work. And I think for children my age, the most important thing is to not put them off learning by trying to force too much. I've found kind of gentle encouragement and odd comments, trying to encourage here and there, is having a more positive effect than if we say, right, you've got to sit down and do X, Y, Z, and then they resist. Sometimes, especially with my 5-year-old, it is a bit of a case of kind of dragging him to the table and sitting him on my knee, as I did yesterday. It's like, right, we're just going to look at this one thing for 10 minutes, but literally that was all it was. But he did concentrate for that, and he did resist a bit, but he didn't then get off my knee and run away, or not for 10 or 15 minutes anyway. So I think it's just trusting in yourself and trusting in your children, and reach out and get the support. I've had support from other mums and support from the children's teachers in school, and just don't be afraid to ask for help. And if you're struggling, you'll probably reach out and find that there's several other people struggling, or other people that have got tips that can help.
That sounds like a really nice positive note to end it on. Thank you so much, Joanne. I shall keep an eye out for more news on your book.
Great, thank you.